last session of this conference. The session is going to be on biofuel policies of different states, CBG producers on state policies and international experiences. So this session is going to be chaired by Dr. Navneet Mohan Kothari, the Joint Secretary of the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Please. And we have other speakers, a couple of them are going to be joining online. We have Dr. G.N. Singh, Advisor to Honorable Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. And we also have Shri Sazzad from Assistant Joint Secretary to the Government of Assam. We have Sumit Sarkar from Chhattisgarh Biofuel Development Board. Then we have Professor Balakrishna Gaurav, who is going to be joining online. He is not keeping well, otherwise he should have been here. And we also have Dr. Kyriakos Maniatis, who has joined us from Greece. You can see him on the screen. And then we have Kumar Gaurav, Senior Advisor, Climate Change and Circular Economy, GIZ. Before I start this session, Sanjay Ganjuji wanted a couple of minutes to present some mementos to the sponsors of this conference. So may I request Sanjay ji to take over.
It's due to these sponsors who supported this conference. We'd like to acknowledge their support and request them to please accept our token of appreciation. We have a representative of Indian Oil here. No. We thank Verbio, Mr. Ashish Kumar, to please for sponsoring this event as gold sponsor. I request Ashish ji to please collect a memento from Mr. Kothari. Anybody from Canara Bank? Stall पे होंगे कोई? From Canara Bank? Indian Oil, okay. Indian Oil का दीजिए. Anybody from Canara Bank? No. Can I request Atul Karate ji to please come forward and accept his memento from Indian Oil Adani Ventures Limited, and thank you for your support. Atul ji. Oh, नहीं Indian Oil Tanking का, Indian Oil Ventures का होगा. So you can accept one on their behalf also and one for your company. Yeah. So may I request a representative of Crown? Anybody from Crown here? नहीं है. So Praj का निकालिए. May I request Tushar ji to please come forward and take the memento for Praj. Praj ka de dijiye.
Crown is not here.
Crown is not here. Somebody from SBI Capital? Anybody from SBI Caps? नहीं है. So anybody from SIDB? SIDB? No. Okay, we'll send the. So we can invite them later and yeah, sure. So thank you. We are proceeding with the session. अभी नहीं है.
As I said before, the session is going to be chaired by Dr. Navneet Mohan Kothari, who is an IAS officer from Madhya Pradesh cadre. So, I think, sir, until yesterday you were the Joint Secretary at the Ministry of Petroleum. You're still today, okay. So, I think, very soon I came to know that he's going to be heading back to Madhya Pradesh. We are so happy that in many of our activities, Madhya Pradesh is not really represented. So we will have a great ambassador from Delhi going to Madhya Pradesh and taking care of the biofuel interest in the state of Madhya Pradesh. So I would request Dr. Navneet Kothari ji to make some opening statement as the chair, and then he is going to be presenting at the end after he hears from other panelists here. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, distinguished chair, all the distinguished guests. The session, this is the session number 5 of the second day, which is regarding the biofuel policies of different states, and we have experts who will be discussing also the experiences on CBG policies and whatever many international experiences also. As we all know, the biofuels is a developing area. It's a novel area, novel way of using something to generate more revenue, to generate wealth, where the things were not of were either waste or not used for that. So as such, the sector needs support from the state, there are no doubt about that, and for many states have come up with their policies. Madhya Pradesh has one biofuel policy, though it not focusing that much on CBG as yet, but yes, the biofuel policy is there. UP has got a very nice policy, and all these policies have one basic motto, and that is to increase the production of biofuels, maybe ethanol in the first phase, and as we progress further, it will also turn into the sustainable aviation fuel and the CBG as we look at it. States have got various policies, many of them offer concessions, many of them offer subsidies, many of them offer registration, concessions in the registration rates, or some other fiscal or financial incentives. Many of them limit their scope to one or two specific things. Some states have got a very wide variety of financial incentives available. So it is a work in progress. I will request the panelists to throw more light on them, and as we progress, we'll also learn from the experience. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. As we all know that the entire biofuel program, including the CBG program, we have a clear policy, we have a clear program at the national level. A lot of targets have been set, but it is very important that ultimately the project has to be implemented in different states. So it becomes very important that each of the state creates the right kind of ecosystem for implementation of the policy and programs which are there at the national level. And some of the states have been highly proactive and have been playing a very complementary role. As I mentioned, we have 4 states which are going to be represented here. We have Dr. G.N. Singh, who is the advisor to Honorable Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. He is the founder director of India Pharmacopoeia Commission. He He was also the Drugs Controller General of India. So he started his career from IDPL and served at Midland senior management positions there. He is a B Pharma, M Pharma and PhD from IIT BHU and MBA from UK. So currently he has been playing a very important role in UP in shaping the various policies, and especially, we heard Mr. Avnish Avasthi yesterday. Along with Avnish Avasthi, Dr. Singh has been instrumental in creating the policy towards the infrastructure development in UP. And my own friend, Dr. K.V. Raju, who is also an advisor in UP to the Chief Minister, he told me that Dr. Singh is the most appropriate person to participate in this conference, and he will really be able to take it forward and make sure that the right kind of environment is created in UP. So over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Really, I am very lucky to share this dais where Dr. Ramakrishna ji, who is the pioneer in this field, and Navneet ji, who is chairing the session, plus the panelists, all the honorable people, persons on the dais, off the dais. Really, it gives me great pleasure to see such a dynamic and energetic people sitting over here who are going to change the fate of this nation. Just I want to brief something which is happening in UP, how UP is going to be changed. The Honorable Chief Minister is very keen to see that infrastructural system of UP be totally transformed. In that way, we are going to have about 24 new policies have been framed, they have been put in place. We are going to see that we may contribute to the national growth by having $1 trillion US economic contribution in overall development of the nation. And that is how the total policy system requires to be revamped. And I want to bring in your kind notice that all the 24 policies which have been framed, they are meeting the expectations of the stakeholders. In that policy itself, one is on the biogas energy, which is going to become the backbone of driving the UP economy. We were putting our minds together how we are going to address the issues of future. The few components I am mentioning here, the infrastructural, where we wanted to have the road, the air, the railways, all the things have been put in place. When we are targeting about $1 trillion US economy, we are going to grow 4 times what we are doing today. And this is how energy is going to play a very important role. I want to mention here, I am totally blank on this issue because I am of different field. This room is very known to me. I used to come over here for addressing the health-related issues. But I am very fortunate that Ramakrishna ji has invited me to address another challenging issue, which is going to address the issues of UP. Friends, when we are talking about the policies, I would request to know what are the salient points. Already our Avasthi ji study, he touched up many of the issues, but we thought, okay, let it be repetitive in nature so that the memory, you put in your memory, and whenever you want to implement, we would be there to facilitate. He mentioned about support for land and the feedstock, deemed exemptions from land ceiling, exemption for change of land use, Gram Sabha land on token lease that was discussed yesterday, district level committee, because Honorable Chief Minister is very keen to see that implementation be really become the success story of tomorrow for UP. And this is how for each and every policy, You give us about 3 months' time. We are going to have indicators, sub-indicators, so that monitoring. Some of our friends were telling that we are not able to properly address the issues. I assure you, the Honorable Chief Minister is very keen to see that implementation be the strongest the stick through which we may succeed, and we are going to have those things. We are having a very dynamic bureaucracy which is assisting technocrats, the policy makers. We are all working under one roof with one aim. Let's address the issues to make the economy vibrant and transformed in UP. Support for transportation, that also, if some connectivity is not there, we want to have a module and let it be done by the government. Additional support, investor can avail support from Government of India. That is the beauty of this policy. Next, please. Detail of proposal and MOUs, as yesterday it was mentioned. The bioenergy, which is we are focusing, about 242 MOU were signed in February when we were having the global investor meet, and about 50,000 crores MOU have been put in place. Some people may be doubting how UP is going to address. In most of the sector, when we are having 35.5 lakhs crore investment, we are going to see that we realize the issue, how we are going to implement, how we are going to make the things to happen on the ground. And before coming over here, we are working almost every day to see that we may have a robust system of operation so that there be minimum human interference. Everything is going to be technology based, and UP is going to make it to happen. Hand-holding bioenergy portal is there where you can see the things, you may write down all the things. As I was mentioning, we are going to be technology driven. So while hand-holding, Honorable Chief Minister wants there should be minimum interface of the people so that there be zero tolerance on any sort of corruption or delay. All the process for applying to dispersal of subsidy can be availed through the portal. 2003 proposal of different bioenergy-based project, compressed biogas, biocoal, biodiesel have been received so far. All the government order and notification has been issued by the concerned departments and available at UPNEDA website. State level committee under the chairmanship of Additional Chief Secretary, Additional Source of Energy has been constituted to facilitate investor for land and feed stock, etc. related issues. District level committees have been formed. And these are the Bio CBG. We are having 39, 7 sanctioned, and 586 crores have already been put in place. So these are the policies, salient point which I wanted to put in place of you. And after, I can mention you when I was talking about 24 policies, the industrial policy is going to be the umbrella policy, which are having most of the incentives required for any state to be the progressive stage to be transformed. The stakeholders, the bureaucrats, the financial institutions, all the people have been consulted. We visited at the global level, national level, interacted with the people, and whatever, where the really pin, जहाँ पे कभी चोट लगती है, घाव लगती है, उसको पहचानने के लिए सारी चीज़ें की गई उत्तर प्रदेश में. हर आदमी से इंटरेक्ट किया गया. और आप देखिए, हम फार्मासिस्ट बाई प्रोफेशन हैं, ड्रग रेगुलेटरी सिस्टम में रहे हुए हैं, हमने चेंजेस देखा है, और कोई 40 साल के अनुभव के आधार पे हम आपको आश्वस्त कर सकते हैं कि आने वाले समय में आपको कोई कठिनाई नहीं होगी. उत्तर प्रदेश में ऐसा डायनेमिक चीफ मिनिस्टर मिले हुए हैं जो ईमानदारी के नाम पे कार्यप्रणाली के रूप में ही इज़ कमिटेड टू द नेशन. विद दीज वर्ड्स I urge and request you to make India a taller nation, a developed nation, and energy is going to play a very rightful role. हमारे मुख्यमंत्री जी ये चाहते हैं कि जो हमारे चीनी मिलें हैं, जो हमारे बायोगैस हैं, जो हमारे शौचालय बने हैं, जो हमारी पराली है, जो हमारे गेहूं के खेत हैं जो बचे रहते हैं, उनकी सबकी उपयोगिता की जाए. और वी वेरी शॉर्टली वी आर गोइंग टू हैव ए सेल्फ रिलायंट our state on energy, and as in drugs, we are going back to nature. Similarly, on energy front also, we are looking forwards to have your inputs, assistance, and back to bioenergy so that we may become the really 1 trillion economy in times to come and contribute to the national growth. Thank you, Ramakrishna ji, and this forum for inviting me and giving this wonderful people for interacting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. In fact, I remember, the day when Modi ji announced that India will become a $5 trillion economy. The same day, Yogi ji responded by saying that we will contribute 1 trillion from UP. So that's a very significant contribution, being part of a Bimaru state and talking about providing the leadership for the whole country when it comes to the economic contribution is very significant, and we do see that that kind of significant contribution is already making, and we do see the UP economy growing. And we believe that that $1 trillion economy that Yogi ji has been talking about, the significant contribution can come from the biofuel sector, and especially from the CBG sector. And yesterday, Avasi ji was saying that there is a decision to set up minimum one biogas plant in every tehsil. I think you have more than 700 such tehsil. That means you're talking about 700 plants that can be set up, and that will be a great opportunity. And sir, my appeal to you at this point of time is that our forum itself is just a 4-month-old kind of a forum, but then in 4 months, we have been able to make significant strides in this direction. And our next destination, we believe, is going to be Lucknow, and that's where we would like to come and make sure that the real investment starts happening in this sector with your support. We have Sumit ji. Sumit ji, why don't you come and join us here? So our next speaker is going to be Mr. Sazzad Alam. He is the Joint Secretary to Government of Assam. Also the Additional Chief Secretary there. ACS, is that right? Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. He is a 1999 batch Assam Civil Service officer. He has held various responsibilities. The present responsibilities he holds are very interesting. He is Joint Secretary, Government of Assam for Industries and Commerce, which will be very important from the policy standpoint of view. And then he is also the nodal officer for the gas grid projects in Barauni Guwahati Pipeline Limited and Northeast Grid, incorporating the northeastern region into national gas grid. So as the people involved in the CBG program, this is something of great importance to us because ultimately we are looking at injecting the biogas into the gas grid. So the kind of ecosystem that you are already trying to create is very important. And we have been there have been so much of discussion about the feedstock, and he has also been involved in the feedstock development as the nodal agency for State Bamboo Mission of Assam. So he is involved in the feedstock production. He is involved in the policy. He is involved in ensuring the infrastructure that is required for implementing the offtake guarantees in Assam. So we are eager to hear you out on what kind of ecosystem is evolving in Assam. Over to you.
Shri Navneet Mohan ji, our Honorable Joint Secretary, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Shri G.N. Singh sir, from Advisor to Honorable CM Uttar Pradesh, other dignitaries on the dais, our host from the IFGE, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. It has been a real pleasure to be amongst you, to learn a lot about compressed biogas. As far as Assam is concerned, we are still taking baby steps. We are here to learn. So it is not actually, we don't have a state policy on biogas production, but we do have a policy towards it, and how we will be framing our policy, we'll be basing it on what we learn here and in the subsequent days. Basically, biogas has been in use in Assam in the form of domestic biogas plants, which we know as gobar gas plants in Assam. Especially, this used to produce electricity in rural areas, and also for other subsequent uses. As far as municipal solid waste is concerned, although 1 or 2 municipalities have such plants, but still there is a long way to go. But still the question is how to tap it and compress it to compressed biogas. And of course, we have this in mind that we need to blend it with CNG, or whether we can use it directly. And in this regard, it is without question that Assam has a huge potential for both production and utilization of compressed biogas. But the question is how to go about it. And as I said, the government generally follow the first law of Newton, that unless there is a push from outside, we are into our status quo mode. So here we have to give the Union Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas its due credit because of coming up with such a brilliant policy called the Sazzad, that is a sustainable alternative towards affordable transportation, and to put biogas in the mainstream. So after this, we got the letter from the Union Ministry. So after that, we actually got into action mode, and we, as we know, that the oil PSUs, they would be inviting expression of interest to actually have some MOU with the CBG manufacturing companies and the CBG plant owners, which are, many of them are here in number. They will be doing all the planning, everything. Of course, financing part has also been taken care of, I think, during our discussion. So as far as adoption of Sazzad in Assam is concerned, the first thing we did was we actually formed a state level committee for Sazzad, which we got all the concerned stakeholders. We have also notified the terms of reference, and based on the terms of reference, we are actually following up action, and we plan to have not only a policy but also an ecosystem and an overall vision plan. So, and for that we are undertaking this not only study and BMP analysis, and of course we are doing a multi-departmental approach, and where every department we are giving a designating a bit of responsibility so as to create a synergy, and also we are taking the help of the central and state PNG PSUs. Among the central PSUs, we have got mainly GAIL is there. We have got NRL, IOCL, Oil India Limited, and ONGC. And we have got 2 very good state PSUs, AGCL. The MD is here with me here. And of course, we are soliciting private participation, and for that, we are contemplating having a single window. And of course, this is the Sazzad SLC with the Chief Secretary as the chairman, the senior-most secretaries of all the relevant departments, including my own department, agriculture, animal husbandry, then environment, forest, fishery. Of course, finance is required, obviously, for the budget, for putting the adequate budget. But after our first SLC meeting, we incorporated the Department of Housing and Urban Affairs for incorporation of the municipal solid waste component. And of course, these are all the oil PSUs are there. And of course, we have also decided to put in a representative of a CBG entity. So these are other, in the future, although they are not presently members, we are also trying to have a state banking level SLBC coordinator or nodal officer there. And we are also trying to enlist one technical institute. IIT, and IIT Guwahati has been just utilized but not formally inducted. Of course, this is the other representatives will be there. Basically, the terms of reference which we have actually modeled on was modeled on the central policy was the assessment of potential in the state to harness sources of CBG. That is the first thing we'd be doing. So secondly, we are also preparing a state level action plan and creation of a state level group and setting up an implementation of a state level ecosystem, and then it just got cut away during the presentation preparation. Setting up an implementation of a single window system for CBG projects and benchmarking of technology, cost of CBG, that is again estimating the cost of CBG projects, empanelment of institutions or technology providers, establishment of coordination among various stakeholders, then creation of enabling mechanism for establishing biomass organic waste supply chain for CBG projects. Of course, the very last but not the least was the financing of the CBG projects. Then how we are going about it, as far as the assessment of potential is concerned, we are actually, we have already decided during our first SLC meeting to have a detailed study to be conducted on the prospects of CBG and the ways and means to harness it optimally in Assam, for which already we are in the process of floating an RFP to select the consultant. But in this regard, I just want to add one or two things, is that on the agricultural domain, already people are having those biogas plants. How to link them through pipelines or through other modes of transportation, that is our big challenge. And secondly, municipal plans, all the municipalities are putting up these solid waste management plans. So how to again link them with the system, I think we'll be going to that one particular case where we are doing a pilot process. And of course, we are lucky that Reliance has actually come up with a proposal for conducting a study independently. And we have given them the authority to do so. Hopefully, they will also come up with something positive. Now, how to prepare a state-level action plan for Sazzad? So we are proposing a workshop, because this workshop would be learning a lot, but we'll be having our own workshop on CBG to discuss best management practices, and we are lucky to have Chain Singh sir with us, because we'll be learning a lot from states like UP and also Gujarat, and also delve into financial and the economic viability of the CBG projects and the overall concept of waste to wealth, which is still in a rudimentary stage in Assam. And of course, the multidisciplinary study team, which has been decided to be constituted, they will also try to notify into specific units to undertake specific tasks, would be preparing the action plan accordingly. And as far as the single window clearances system is concerned, we already, this will not only expedite clearances and establish coordination, but for that, the question is whether to establish a separate new system for CBG or will be incorporated into our existing EODB system, because which is already being integrated into the national single window system. So this may be a better option, the second option. Then as far as benchmarking of technology and cost of CBG projects are concerned, we are, our technical, multidisciplinary technical team are actually taking care of that, but we are indeed lucky that in the first session, we have been given a feel of how technology has grown in this sector, but Assam would like to be a beneficiary of such technology and benchmark such technology for making our CBG projects technically feasible and economically viable. So in this regard, we are also empaneling institutions. Already RFP again has to be floated for empanelment of a technical institution in line with the terms of reference, but at the same time, just as an ad hoc measure, IIT Guwahati has already been used for that purpose. Now, As far as establishment of coordination among various stakeholders is concerned, and also creation of a synergy for the CGD entities for marketing of CBG, establishment of a platform for different stakeholders for discussing. So this SLC will be having a forum for that, and all the relevant departments have been asked to come up with their own inputs after their individual study and on Sazzad and CBG for consideration, and also we are trying to have a working wing to facilitate ground level coordination and synergy. And as far as the ways and means for enabling mechanism for establishing biomass or organic waste supply chain for ensuring a sustainable supply of biomass and organic waste for CBG projects, which is again the sine qua non for a successful CBG project. We are other than working on a academic study, we are also trying for a pilot in Dibrugarh, where AGCL, Assam Gas Company Limited, has already got their city gas distribution system in place. So, and also the Dibrugarh Municipal Corporation has their own solid waste management disposal unit there, which is producing some kind of biogas already. So we are trying to link the two and try whatever biogas is being produced, we'll try to compress it and try to press it into the system in the CGD. So if this pilot is successful, would be trying to replicate in the rest of the state on this, and also invite entrepreneurs in this regard. Then as far as at the same time, would also like entrepreneurs in rural areas to collect biogas and integrate in the CGD network, because I think one of the things which we are doing, as has been mentioned, is actually we are integrating under the hydrocarbon vision 2030 of the Honorable Prime Minister. We are connecting Assam and the rest of the Northeast to the national gas grid. So in this regard, after GAIL has brought it from Barauni to Guwahati, the Northeast gas grid, which is being implemented by a joint venture of 5 major oil PSUs, they will be touching each and every portion of the state. So for the last mile connectivity, we have companies like AGCL and Purva Bharati Gas, another JV. So they will also be going through rural areas. So if we can have whatever biogas is being produced in the rural areas, we can have a pipeline or some kind of transport tanker system where we can actually integrate, the CBG can be collected. So we are trying to work on that. That's also, and if it is successful, it can be replicated across the state. But another very important thing actually is the financing of CBG projects. So herein, we already have an ethanol promotion policy of Assam. Assam is the second state after Bihar to have such a policy, where we have not only the approval system as well as the financing system is there. A lot of subsidies are there. So the Honorable Petroleum and Natural Gas Minister, Sri Hardeep Singh Puri sir, had already recommended to our Honorable Chief Minister to also include CBG blending into CNG as part of this policy. So we are working on those lines, but also thinking whether, since CBG has a lot of other uses, so can we have an exclusive CBG policy? So this is both are being contemplated, and actually we'll be putting in the financial incentives. But one major thorn in this by the side of this financing is that our banks need to be more supportive of us. Actually, Assam has a very low credit deposit ratio. So, because they must feel, but Assam has a lot of prospects, because many of our central sector schemes have failed because of lack of support from banks. Because I'll be very blunt on this actually. See, a lot of our banker friends are here. So would like them to support the CBG projects, because they need to take risk here, because this is still in its infancy. But we'll try to incorporate best management practices. Our entrepreneurs will be also bringing the best of technologies from outside. But at the same time, the support from our banker friends is essential. So we'll try to have our SLBC chairman also in our SLC very soon. So unless the state can also give a bit of subsidy, but that cannot be that cannot support the CBG projects. So As far as other items are concerned, we are, so this CBG, the question is whether to use CBG directly or incorporate in the main compressed natural gas system, so in the CGD network, in the city gas network. So I think as of now, having an independent CBG network may not be feasible. So so it will be better to inject it into the main, since it is the same chemical composition, same methane, so it can be better to inject it into the CNG network. So that is what we are thinking. So other modes of transportation other than pipeline, where pipelines cannot be established, like tankers and so on, whichever is feasible, that are also being considered. So these are also, transportation is another avenue where we need technology input. So, so now the way forward is, as I have already mentioned, we need to learn from the states which have already gone forward. But at the same time, we also are quite confident of our own inherent strengths, and we are really again thankful to IFGE and CBG Producers Forum for inviting us and actually asking us to be a partner state. And we hope with your support, we'll go ahead on the CBG domain. With these words, I'd like to thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that comprehensive presentation. We believe that Assam has huge potential. In fact, about 5 years back, 2017-18, that was the time when I visited your state and had interactions with the agriculture minister, as well as with the University of Agricultural Sciences there. And we looked at doing some field trials on sweet sorghum at that point of time. And we had excellent results working with the farming community there. And I believe that sweet sorghum could be an excellent feedstock in Assam, both for CBG program as well as for second generation ethanol program.
Assam millet mission is also on at this moment.
Yeah, especially the paddy growing farmers who grow only one crop. I mean, I have seen that they do the harvesting of paddy in standing water. There is so much of water that is left and they don't grow another crop. So when I interacted with them and I told them, why are you not growing another crop? They said, hum kush hai sab. And they are so satisfied. But if this can earn more money for them, I think we should really look in terms of involving them in generating the feedstock that is really required for this.
So actually, I just want to add one word, because because just before this, just in the last part of March, we had the regional food fest, where we had a session on about the Assam millet mission. So in the garb of the International Year of Millet. So lot of progress has taken place as far as millet production is concerned, and we are going further ahead.
Wonderful. So, I mean, sweet sorghum is one which can address the food security as well as our energy security, both it can.
Sweet sorghum is also a millet.
Yeah. So, thank you. And we are there. The CBG Producers Forum is always there with you. And we will coordinate with you in future to make sure that you come up with a very robust and sustainable policy on CBG in Assam.
Sure.
Yeah. So, our next speaker is going to be Mr. Sumit Sarkar, CEO of Chhattisgarh Biofuel Development Authority. For many of us who have been involved in the biofuel program, he doesn't require any introduction. He has been involved in this program for more than 2 decades now. He was heading the operations of Indian Oil CREDA, which was basically looking at jatropha plantation and converting the jatropha oil into biodiesel. He has also been, after working with Indian Oil CREDA, he joined the Chhattisgarh Biofuel Development Authority, and he heads it today as the CEO, and he has been centrally involved in the Chhattisgarh in policy making as far as all the green energies are concerned. So he was also instrumental in supplying and working very closely with Indian Institute of Petroleum in Dehradun and supplying all the jet oil that was required for production of sustainable aviation fuel. And the Chhattisgarh role is very well known in the first test flight that we flew from Dehradun to Delhi, on which both myself and Sumit ji were there on that. So he has been telling me a lot of work is being done with regard to supporting the CBG program as well as attracting investment into it. There is so much of biomass that is available in Chhattisgarh, and they have a very proactive government. They have very good policies in place. What is required today is the investment. Let us see, what kind of investment climate Chhattisgarh is trying to create. And over to you, Sumit ji.
Thank you, Dr. Ramakrishna, for all your good remarks. Honorable Chair and other dignitaries on dais, friends from the bioenergy domain present here. I'm sorry for being delayed to come on the dais. Actually, Dr. Jiten Prasad, the Minister of Science and Technology, was here. So just he left, I joined here a few minutes delayed. But it's, sometimes I feel that every time I go to a seminar or a workshop, I always get the slot that is the last session and last speaker almost. The last time also we were there in Hyderabad together with Ramakrishna ji. So,
You are having the last word.
yeah. So, तो थोड़ा हिंदी चलेगा ना, हिंदी चलेगा? नहीं तो सुनेंगे नहीं आप लोग. 2 दिन से सीबीजी सुन के मैं एक्चुअली फेलियर से अपना स्टोरी को चालू करूंगा. Look, I represent my state, Chhattisgarh. We work in the entire portfolio of biofuel, whether it is biodiesel. We are the pioneer. We have a pilot plant. We produce more than 5 lakhs liters of biodiesel till date. We have taken up new technologies from IIP this year. Bioethanol, we mooted the idea after the policy was drafted in 2018. We mooted the idea that surplus food grains should be converted for bioethanol. That also succeeded. Advanced biofuel, we have done work with IIP, and we have successfully tested our fuel by the both commercial SpiceJet flight as well as AN-32 aircraft of Indian Air Force. Drop-in fuels also we are working, and we are driving 2 of our vehicles and tractors with drop-in fuel. The only thing left is CBG. That is the definition of biofuel, 5 things. And fortunately or unfortunately, I am the member secretary of the state level Satat committee, which is chaired by our Secretary Energy and all other departments, agriculture, पंचायत, रूरल डेवलपमेंट, एवरीबॉडी आर सेक्रेटरीज आर मेंबर देयर. और मुझे लगा ये बहुत अच्छा मौका है, एक बार तो मुझे मेंबर सेक्रेटरी बनाया है स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, कुछ करके दिखाते हैं. एंड देयर ओनली आई फेल्ड. कुछ नहीं हुआ आज तक. लास्ट 2 साल से मेहनत किया, कुछ हुआ ही नहीं. क्यों नहीं हो पाया? छत्तीसगढ़ इज द राइस बोल ऑफ द कंट्री, एंड वी हैव द मैक्सिमम प्रोडक्शन ऑफ पैडी ओवर देयर. And this year, this financial year just ended on 31st March 2023, we have procured more than 106,000 tons of paddy at MSP. So we have surplus paddy, and milling, extensive milling of paddy is going on, and it is going to FCI and others. तो कहाँ जा रहा है? Where the biomass is going? क्यों नहीं ये चीज होता है? Why we are not succeeding in CBG? Oil marketing companies, they spare a lot of LOIs. 67 LOIs in the state of Chhattisgarh has been distributed by oil marketing companies. When we sat in the meeting of the state level, we invited all of them. उसमें से 10-12 टर्न आउट हुए. उसमें से भी 2-3 है जो एक्चुअली LOI से एग्रीमेंट स्टेज तक गया है. तो जो आप सुनते हैं ऑयल मार्केटिंग कंपनी बहुत कुछ काम कर लिया, कुछ नहीं किया हकीकत में. इसीलिए सतत को दोबारा रिवाइज सोचने का जरूरत है. स्कीम में आज ये जो एक सेशन आज हुआ है जहां पे स्टेक होल्डर्स फ्रॉम स्टेट्स हैव बीन अलाउड टू पार्टिसिपेट, बिकॉज व्हेन वी गो बैक टू द स्टेट, वेदर इट इज असम, वेदर इट इज यूपी, छत्तीसगढ़, हरियाणा, वी आर द वर्कर्स ऑन ग्राउंड हु फेस द चैलेंज. स्कीम तो यहां बन जाता है, बैंकर आते नहीं सामने. अदरवाइज फॉर ऑल माई वर्क आई ऑलवेज टेक प्राइड कि मैंने एविएशन फ्यूल बनाया. अभी मैं अल्कोहल टू जेट का भी एविएशन फ्यूल बना रहा हूं. वी हैव सेट अप आवर ओन 1G इथेनॉल प्लांट बाय द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, डेमो प्लांट. 2G इन PMG1 वी आर कमिंग. आई टेक प्राइड, आई डू एवरीथिंग सक्सेसफुली. ओनली CBG आई फेल्ड, क्योंकि स्कीम को दोबारा सोचा जाए. बैंकर नहीं है, इन्वेस्टर नहीं है, टेक्नोलॉजी इज कॉस्टली. तो मुझे लगा कि क्यों नहीं हो रहा है, कुछ हमको करना चाहिए. लेट अस गो बैक एंड वर्क इन द विलेजेस एंड स्टार्ट अप की कुछ तो मॉडल ऑफ बायोमास एग्रीगेशन पहले बनाते हैं, छोटे छोटे से बनाते हैं. 500 kg, 600 kg, मे बी 1000 kg एवरी डे. लेट अस डू इट. तो वी सैट विद द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, वी वर्कड टुगेदर एंड वी केम आउट फॉर वेरियस अदर रीजंस. हमने एक नया पॉलिसी लाया और नया स्कीम लाया, दैट इज द रूरल इंडस्ट्रियल पार्क. लेट अस डाइवर्ट आवरसेल्फ फॉर सच प्रोजेक्ट्स ऑफ CBG एंड बायोमास रिलेटेड स्कीम्स फ्रॉम द नॉर्मल इंडस्ट्रियल पॉलिसी व्हिच इज ओनली इन द इंडस्ट्रियल एरिया और बिग चंक्स ऑफ लैंड. तो हम चले गांव के ओर. 76.76% rural population in Chhattisgarh lives in villages. And we term this that the village are the entity in terms of resource, innovation and skills. Kisan, Karigar, Kalakar. Everything. We have a NGGB is a process. NGGB is actually Narwa, Garwa, Ghurwa, Bari is a process which can rejuvenate the village to prosperity. हमारे काम है, राज्य शासन का एम्प्लॉय है ना, तो हमको गांव के लिए काम करना पड़ता है और वहां जाके करके दिखाना पड़ता है, क्योंकि सेक्रेटरीज बड़े प्रेशर में रखते हैं हमको, कुछ करके दिखाओ. ये जो बोल रहे हो इतने साल से कि CBG हो जाएगा और CBG क्यों नहीं हो रहा है, कुछ करके दिखाओ. तो कुछ करके दिखाने के लिए नरुआ, गरुआ, घुरुआ और बाड़ी इन छत्तीसगढ़ी, दिस इज द डायलेक्ट. This is actually is the phase 1 में, these are the Gothans. We have set up 9,000 Gothans now across the state and we are procuring cow dung at the rate of ₹2 from farmers. 9,000 गोठानों में हम हर रोज गोबर खरीद रहे ₹2 प्रति किलो का दर से. So phase 1 में this is the cattle conservation center, a slightly different from your गौशाला कॉन्सेप्ट टू गोठान. अभी मैं एमएनआरई में भी था, उनका भी बहुत सारे स्कीम है जिसमें दे हैव रिटन गौशाला. तो फिर वही प्रॉब्लम, गौशाला से डाइवर्ट होकर गोठान समझाने में मुझे एक दिन लगा, बट दे एग्रीड कि दे विल ऐड दिस सो दैट सम सेंट्रल फाइनेंशियल असिस्टेंस विल पोरिंग इन टू आवर स्टेट. इसका नाम दिए हमने, ये गोबर जो खरीदे इससे कुछ आगे भामी कंपोस्ट एलाइड प्रोडक्ट्स बनाने के लिए गोधन न्याय योजना चालू किए. और ये जहां पे गोठान हैं, ऐसे गोठान अगर 2 एकड़ में है तो साथ में और 3 एकड़ को जोड़ के हम वहां पे रूरल इंडस्ट्रियल पार्क ला रहे हैं, दैट इज नोन एज आजीविका गुड़ी. सो व्हाट आर द डिफरेंट कंपोनेंट्स इन माय RIPA, my rural industrial park? We have आजीविका गुड़ी, as I explained. Production, कुछ daily utility, input for larger value chain. These are the areas where we introduce the CSIDC, that the State Industrial Development Corporation schemes, services and SIV. SIV is our software hub for innovative ventures. चलते हैं नेक्स्ट स्लाइड में. ये आजीविका गुड़ी, जितने हमारे लोहा गुड़ी चाहे कुम्हार गुड़ी जो इधर उधर पड़े हुए थे, सबको हम ले आके हमारे रूरल इंडस्ट्रियल पार्क में स्थापित कर रहे हैं. गुड़ी इज लाइक योर सिलीगुड़ी, इट्स अ प्लेस, इट्स अ प्लेस. तो कुम्हार गुड़ी, चम शिल्पकार गुड़ी, तो एवरीथिंग वेदर इट इज पॉटरी से लेके लेदर कंपोनेंट, ऑयल, लोकल ऑयल मिलर्स, एवरीथिंग सबको हम उसी जगह पे ले आ रहे हैं जो डिफरेंट एरिया में पहले गांव के आसपास ही थे, but they were not aggregated into a single area. So this is where we are now working, and out of the 9,000 Gothans, 300 RIPAs have come up. 300 RIPA रूरल इंडस्ट्रियल पार्क have come up, जहां पे हम ये काम कर रहे हैं. गांव का बात कर रहा हूं क्योंकि हम पीछे चले गए, एक्चुअली गैस अभी तक बना ही नहीं. दिस इज महाग्राम for promoting RIPA in a cluster. How we do it? 300 गांव का कुछ अच्छे एक्सपीरियंसेस, कुछ टफ एक्सपीरियंसेस भी है, but there are teething problems also. But you can see how a cluster of villages we have roped in. जहां पे सेंटर में हाट बाजार जहां लगता था, वहीं पे हमने गाय का गोठान भी बनाए, और गोठान संलग्न एरिया में we have created the RIPA. गैस वहीं से बनेगा. Rural industrial parks. Now look at the facilities that we are providing. We are providing space and land. Shade at the rate of 50 rupees per square feet. Land without shade 5 rupees per square feet we are giving. Water facilities, electricity, preferably green electricity. ये एक जगह है जहां हमने कुछ काम किया. गोबर किसान ला रहे थे, 2 रुपया में गोबर ले रहे थे, और all our Gothans are mapped through our NIC portal. Everybody's bank account and everything. So every 15 days, the Honorable Chief Minister, he pushes the button and transfers the money to the concerned Gothan Samiti. कुछ गोठान समिति क्या करते हैं? They then prepare, manufacture actually vermi compost from all these gobers that we procure. तो इस पे काम करने का बहुत जरूरत था कि गोबर से और क्या क्या करें. तो we went to BAC. We took out their technology, that is the Nisar Green technology, and we have set up now as a pilot scale 7 gobar to power generation units. Gobar se biogas, biogas to power, and now we are uploading the power to grid. This is the first time we took some lead in producing बायोगैस फ्रॉम गोबर, और उस बायोगैस से बिजली पैदा करके बिजली को हमने ग्रिड में दे दिया. ऐसे गोठानों का चॉइस किए हैं जहां पे हर रोज कम से कम 500 केजी गोबर आता है. तो द नेटवर्क हैज बीन क्रिएटेड. नेटवर्क हैज नाउ बीन क्रिएटेड. किसान हमारे पास गोबर लेके आ रहा है. दिस सेम नेटवर्क वी आर नाउ थिंकिंग की टू एक्सप्लॉइटिंग, to give them a contract that you bring the biomass also. We have instructed all our collectors from the Agriculture Production Commissioner that stationary balers should be purchased from our DMF fund, and it should be placed on every Gothan. क्योंकि पैरा आ रहा है, हमको ये भी सोचना पड़ता है ना, अभी गर्मी आ गया है, पशु को क्या चाहिए? चारा, पानी और थोड़ा शेड. तो उसी काम को हमने शुरू कर दिया कि अगर चारा दे दिए, चारा तो पैरा तो 30 डेज से ज़्यादा आता नहीं, जब काटिंग हो जाता है उसी के बाद आता है, तो उसको अब हम बेलर से बेल करके रख रहा है. दीज बेलर मशीन्स इन स्मॉल स्केल कैन बी यूटिलाइज्ड, एंड दीज प्लेसेस कैन बी टेकन अप फॉर आवर कलेक्शन ऑफ बायोमास एंड इट्स वेयरहाउसिंग, जिससे हम बाद में सेंटर में जो भी हमारे रिपा होगा वहां पे ले आके सीबीजी प्रोडक्शन कर सकते हैं. दिस आर रिपा डिजाइन. आई विल नॉट गो इन डिटेल क्योंकि समय का पाबंदी है, तो आई गो मूव ऑन क्विकली. बट रिपा, these are illustrative pictures. These are the products categorization. We come under inputs for a larger value chain where CSIDC facilities all are available, including our biogas production, green power generation, etc. And these are the overall view. Every state says that I have an industrial policy to help you out. Yes, we also have an industrial policy in Chhattisgarh to actually promote industrialization in green and renewable energy sector. Biofuel is already defined under the higher priority list. So we have interest subsidy, land premium, stamp duty exemption, electricity duty exemption, and net SGST from the production day. Many benefits are there. जब industry आएगा तो we can easily give them all these advantages. This is the last slide. This is our existing ecosystem. Number of 300 RIPAs are planned. Every RIPA has around 6 to 7 villages per RIPA. So, but small scale, when we thought that these gas which we are producing from cow dung and we are taking it for electricity production, can these be converted to CBG also? We do not find any solution because equipments are costly, technology is very costly, and it is it require much more quantity, maybe 50,000 kgs per day to get a CBG plant established. इसमें काम करना है with not only me, the BARC people, the IIP, everybody, the CSIR team. I told them that you please work so that we can have a cheaper technology, we can generate in a smaller scale, then we can port it. बड़े रूप से CGD में गैस देने लायक देश में अभी तक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं बना है. बनाने में बहुत मेहनत लगेगा और टेक्नोलॉजी तो आ गया है, टेक्नोलॉजी इज देयर, बट वी नीड टू वर्क, वी हैव गॉन टू द ग्रास रूट लेवल. आज 500 kg के जहाँ पे आता है ऐसे गोठानों का हमने चयन किया है. हो सकता है इन नियर फ्यूचर दिस कैन अगेन गो अप टू 5,000 kgs. So slowly we are moving ahead. On behalf of the state of Chhattisgarh, I shared some of our experiences with you. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Chhattisgarh.
Thank you, Sumit ji. There's a lot of good work at the ground level. I hope we'll start scaling it up so that the basic challenge of anybody setting up an industry, like establishing the feedstock supply chain, if that could be addressed through your initiative, that would be very nice. We have our next speaker in Kyriakos, Maniatis. He's going to be joining us online. He's already with us. He has been essentially with the Director General of Energy of the European Commission. He retired a couple of years ago, has been very instrumental in making policies and devising programs for the European Union. He was also instrumental in creating the Indo-European cooperation with regard to advanced biofuels. So Kyriakos was centrally involved in conducting the first 3 or 4 conferences between India and European companies. Currently, he's been driving the activities of Low Carbon Biofuel Forum, which is an industrial forum that has been created with a lot of members from India too on that. And he is also the chairperson of a new initiative from Europe called Green Me Up. This is essentially focusing on the biogas program in European Union and really looking at what needs to be done in European Union to create the right kind of ecosystem for commercial deployment of CBG program in a very big way in the whole of Europe. We know that some of the countries like Germany and others have a very advanced program, but it's not true that it's happening all over Europe. So his responsibility will be to really go into those areas where the biogas program really needs to be pushed. So we are eager to hear from you, Kyriakos, on the kind of work that is being initiated and how you could contribute for this conference. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ramakrishna. I will try not to share my screen, but it seems I get the message that it has disabled, unless if you would like to show it from your side. In the meantime, I would like to say I'm very happy and I'm very pleased participating in the global conference on compressed biogas because I feel I'm among friends like Mr. Ramakrishna and several people I know, they are colleagues and we've been working together. And at the same time, I would like to congratulate the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas for all the efforts it has been doing for the last several years in promoting advanced biofuels. And indeed, Mr. Ramakrishna mentioned the conference we've been organizing together He mentioned also the low carbon fuels. He's an expert, invited expert in the project, the Green Me Up. But also in addition to that, with the ministry, we and the European Union, the European Commission, there was a new initiative that started in February, that is the stakeholders group on advanced biofuels between the European Union and India. And there I'm privileged to co-chair this, I would say, this forum with Mr. Parathan of the Hindustan Petroleum. Now, having said that, can we go to the next slide, please? Right. This actually shows more or less the situation in the European Union, the efforts we've been doing to, let's say, to separate the GDP of the European Union from the energy needs. And as you see, we've been rather successful. The target is that by 2030, we're going to reach 55%. And we're on the good way, on the good road to achieve that. So, in addition, you will see in the bottom of below the blue line, you see there's some green, and this is more or less what is already taking place by various activities in agriculture. But if you will see after 2030, you see in the bottom the red, which more or less it is additional carbon removal technologies that are going to take place. So actually the European Union is on the good way to achieve its targets. Next slide, please. Right, this shows the projected changes to the energy mix. If you see in 2018, the European Union used about 1650 MTOE. And if we go to 2050, the target is to reduce that to about 1200 MTOE. But what is significant to notice is that on the right-hand side, in 2050, the gases, which of course biomethane, what you call in India compressed biogas, in Europe we call it biomethane. It's the same thing. It's a matter of terminology. So you see that gases, renewable gases, but the majority of that is going to be biomethane, is increasing to 10%, while on the other hand, again, solid biomass and is increasing in 2050 to about 15%. So that means that the contribution of biomass and bioenergy in all its forms, whether it is liquid biofuels that they can go to aviation or to maritime, or gaseous biofuels like biomethane that can go either for power or heat or can be added into the grid. Next slide, please. Right. This is actually at this moment the discussion that will be taking place in the European Union about the promotion of renewable energy sources. RED stands for Renewable Energy Directive. That has been going on for the last, I would say, 10 to 12 years. And now we have, it has been revised already once and became from RED 1, that means the first, to RED 2. And the RED 2 recently was revised, actually it's about 10 days ago. There are new targets. The actual contribution of renewable energy sources is about 22%. It's about 2020. According to the RED 2, the target is to increase it to about 33%. And now with the revision that took place about 10 days ago, the targets have been raised to 42.5%. Within this target, there's also a particular target for the deployment of innovative technologies that's supposed to be, the target is to raise it to 5% by 2030. So we have the policies to support the renewables, but at the same time, we put mandates. The European Union puts mandates in particular sectors so to try to promote and attract investments, try to attract the technology developers and the member states to implement, let's say, the national policies into ways and means to promote the various ecosystems they want to do nationally, because it's the European Union, but of course in the European Union there are several member states and all of them, they have different particularities. Next slide, please. Now, this is, I'm not going to go through that in detail, but shows this is the European climate law, as we say. The target is to achieve 55% reductions of emissions by 2030 compared to 2019, and to achieve climate neutrality by 2050. So what it shows here is the complexity of the policies and legislation, but let's say on a European Union level, but also on a country level, those things have to take place. And you see always the interconnections. On the right-hand side, we have the energy, I would say, areas that we use energy, buildings, transport, and energy. On the left-hand side, we have the various sectors, the emissions trading scheme on the top, the effort sharing sectors, and the land use change and forestry on the other thing. So you see that all of them, they have somehow to be interconnected to some extent, because we cannot go on a specific area only. We have to take the complete picture to create a complete ecosystem. Next one, please. Now, here again, I'm not going to the details, but this is to indicate this is the Fit for 55 package that has the targets that I mentioned before, but I just indicate in red letters the policies or action directives that specifically mention biogas and biomethane. And of course, there's the Renewable Energy Directive, because biogas is strongly supported by this directive. And also you have the Fuel EU Maritime proposal. Basically, this is how to advance, how to reduce the emissions from maritime transport. And there you see again biofuels, biogas, and so on. While, for example, as you know very well, biogas or biomethane cannot be used in aviation. That's why you don't see anything in the policy just above the Refuel EU Aviation proposal. So whether there is, let's say, areas that the biogas or the biomethane can be used in particular, then they're particularly mentioned in the legislation or in the policy to try to promote and to indicate to the stakeholders that this is an area for investment, an area for development, and so on. Next one, please. Again, this is not, how can I say, I'm not going to go through the details. This is the Repower EU plan. That means how we're going to change the way that the energy is produced and used in the European Union. There are three pillars. The energy savings, of course, energy savings is always particularly important. So the first target we will have, the diversification of energy supplies. And then the third pillar is about accelerating the rollout of renewable energy. And again, I have highlighted the areas that biomethane has to play a role. Of course, in the pipeline gas deliverables, already now there are discussions about supply of biomethane from Ukraine to the European Union, about purchases of gas, of course, that includes biomethane, and about long-term partnerships with suppliers. And if we go to pillar number 3, in the bottom, you see, for example, biomethane action plan to double the EU biomethane production to 35 billion cubic meters per year by 2030. This is a significant amount to go to 35 billion cubic meters per year by 2030. We created recently the Biomethane Industrial Alliance, that all the key players about biomethane, producers, users, and others, they participate. There are specific financial incentives to increase the production, also through the Common Agricultural Policy, because a lot of, let's say, the resources, the feedstock for biogas is coming from agricultural policy. And of course, there is significant research and development support for innovative technologies. Furthermore, in the bottom, you see that again, biomass and biomethane innovative production has to be facilitated and supported. So again, what I'm trying to say now, and I cannot go to the details because of the limited time, that we see that there has to be integration of several actions to try to promote biomethane or any other, I would say, renewable energy source or a biofuel that needs to be promoted. Next slide. So this is the biomethane action plan. And more or less is the plan is, and I hope that Assam has a similar action plan. Basically, it has several targets. I'm not going to go again the details on the right-hand side. I will just concentrate on the blue letters. The target number 1, the sustainable production and use of biogas and biomethane at EU national level. And of course, not only national, but also regional. And what is particular emphasis, we're also putting about the biomethane injection into the grid. Incentives for biogas upgrading to biomethane, because biogas basically you can only use it for power and heat. You cannot inject biogas into the grid. You have to upgrade the biogas to biomethane before you can inject it. Then it is the adaptation and adjustment of the existing and development of new infrastructure for the transport of increased sales of biomethane through the EU gas grid. At the very moment, not only we're discussing here in Europe about how to inject biomethane to the grid and mix it with natural gas, but also how, and I was, I'm proud to say that I initiated this federation to work on biomethane injection to the grid and use as a fuel in internal combustion engines. At this very moment, there are a lot of activities done by CEN, the European Standardization Body, on specifically how to use biomethane in the grid and how to mix it with hydrogen. Of course, there is a lot of money going to research and innovation, try to fill in the gaps. And finally, we try to find the ways and means to how to finance this kind of technologies and how this kind of technologies can be, in a way, integrated into the European Union. And the example that Mr. Ramakrishna gave in the very beginning, and in which he's also participating in representing India, is the Green Me Up project, which more or less tries to take the know-how from the countries that have successfully developed technology, like Denmark, France, Germany, and move that, transport that into countries that they are less successful with biomethane, like Greece, Bulgaria, Romania, and so on. Next slide, please. This is again more or less, in a way, part of the action plan was to create a biomethane industrial partnership. And basically, this is the teaming up of all the key stakeholders aiming to achieve the 35 billion cubic meters of sustainable biomethane. And there are several task forces. Task Force 1 looks to national biomethane targets, strategies and policies. That means every member state should put its national target, not only European, but national target. Some of them, they are more advanced than the target of the European Union. That is the countries like Germany, for example. Some others are below the target because they have to learn and close the gap. Task Force number 2, accelerating biomethane project development, because I heard exactly similar things from the previous speakers. Task number 3, sustainable potentials for innovation of biomass resources. Task number 4, cost efficiency of biomethane production, grid connection. And last but not least, again, research and development and innovation needs. So there are several tasks that they are forming parts of the biomethane industrial partnership. And then we have the key, I would say, companies in all over Europe participating. Next slide, please. Again, here I'm not going to say much, but more or less it gives the, how can I say, the contribution that the European Research and Innovation Program is doing to the Repower objectives, the Repower Europe objectives. And basically you see the yellow square that more or less it has the EU ambition to double the biomethane and raise it to 35 billion cubic meters per year by 2030. So, and that is very ambitious target. We're talking about the next 7 years basically, and it's significant. Next slide, please. Now, this is more or less, as all the previous speakers have mentioned, in addition to policy, in addition to technology, you need the funding support for the, I would say, to promote biogas or compressed biogas or biomethane. And this is more or less the various systems we have in the European Union, the funding programs. On the top, you see the technology readiness level. In the bottom, you see the commercial readiness level. And within the Horizon Europe program that supported the Green Me Up project, that Mr. Ramakrishna represents India into, is funding, let's say, any kind of, I would say, technology at any kind of tier level, from 1 up to 9 it can go. Within the Horizon Europe program, we have the LIFE program that looks basically about the environment. Then the moment the technology comes to, I would say, to be deployed, then the innovation fund comes that basically supports first of a kind, large-scale demonstration plants. Then we have the Connecting Europe facility that more or less looks to transport for energy and mobility. And finally, if you go to real commercial application, you have the InvestEU program by the European Investment Bank that basically has debt financing of the large-scale projects. Now, in addition to what the European Union is doing, you have the national funding from the bottom that also provides support either for research or development of demonstration and so on. Next slide, please. And with that, I would like to conclude. Here you can find basically all the legislation that is more or less I mentioned before. And let me conclude by saying that I see very, very big similarities with what is happening in India and with what is happening in the European Union. And I do hope that, let's say, both in India and both in the European Union, we're going to succeed the targets of, let's say, using more extensively biomethane in all aspects of our energy needs. Thank you, and I will be happy to answer any questions later on.
Thank you, Dr. Kyriakos. We have our next speaker in Sri Kumar Gaurav. He is the Senior Advisor, Climate Change and Circular Economy at GIZ India. He's been working on the project. He's the project manager of Waste Solutions for Circular Economy in India. It's a project funded by NAMA facility. So over to you. We would like to hear from you.
Honorable Chair and dignitaries on the dais as well as off the dais, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. My name is Kumar Gaurav. I am Senior Advisor, Climate Change and Circular Economy in GIZ India. GIZ is German Development Agency. We work on behalf of the German government with the Government of India, different ministries as partners to implement solutions across different sectors, including climate change and waste management, in which we have this project. It's a project funded by the German Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Climate Action, as well as the European Union. So it's very nice to go after the speaker who talked about the European Union policies on promotion of biogas. So NAMA facility, I'd just like to share a brief about them. It's a multi-donor fund where different developed countries, they pool their funds and they invite call for proposals every year. And it's a competition out of which we got this project approved in 2020. And it was a very competitive process. We had 85 applications from all over the world. And we were one of the 5 projects that got shortlisted and got the funding. So the project is of 5 years duration from September 2020 to August 2025. The aim is to support implementation of 4,500 tons per day of waste processing capacity. So this is slightly beyond CBG. It includes all fractions of municipal solid waste, including the dry waste, wet waste, and domestic hazardous waste. The aim of the project is to reduce emissions, and over the 5 years duration, we aim to reduce around 1.2 million tons of CO2 equivalent. This is because of multiple reasons. One of the reasons is that if the waste is landfilled, then a lot of methane emissions come out of the landfill. And methane is 28, 29 times more harmful than carbon dioxide in terms of causing global warming. And the other part of emission reduction is also because of recycling. So in the project, we are promoting recycling, and every ton of recycled plastic, paper reduces certain amount of energy consumption that would have gone into production of virgin materials. And that delta, the difference between the emissions that are caused in recycling process and the emissions that are caused in production of a virgin material, is the emission reductions that we are able to calculate and attribute to the project. There are 2 partner ministries, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, because it is a climate finance project. So MOEFCC is our nodal ministry. And Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, because the waste management sector is, municipal solid waste management sector comes under the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. So we have these 5 pilot project locations. We call them lighthouse cities, because whatever we are going to implement in these cities, the aim is to replicate and upscale the solutions in other cities of the country. And they were selected based on various parameters, including proximity to, including the level of waste management processing capacity, proximity to cement plants, because we have one component on RDF, refuse derived fuel as well. And the aim is to replicate in at least 10 more cities during the course of the project. The project objective is to basically transform the waste management sector to a low carbon waste management sector. And the technologies that we are focusing on are composting, biomethanation, material recovery facility, refuse derived fuel, which is used in cement kilns. So we are not so supportive of waste to energy projects, because combustion based waste to energy projects have challenges in terms of the emissions that come out, and also it doesn't support recycling, which should be the ideal course of treatment of dry fraction of municipal solid waste. So our project has this thesis of working at different levels of the government. So starting with the urban local body level, we provide grant and technical assistance to the urban local body so that they can set up these municipal solid waste management facilities. Then we promote source segregation, because source segregation is kind of like the main issue in terms of why we are not able to manage the wet waste and dry waste properly. Because if it's not source segregated, then it is not fit for either biogas production or composting, and also for recycling. So we promote source segregation through our partner NGOs, and based on our work so far, we have been able to establish that if you engage an organization to promote source segregation, the value that you get in terms of segregated waste and the recycled content and biogas potential is sufficient, or actually more than the expenditure on promoting source segregation. So it's not something that's a not-for-profit and only a grant mode that it should be done. It can be even done as a commercial activity, that you promote source segregation and then make sure that the waste gets treated. Secondly, we do a lot of informal sector integration, because waste management sector has around 1 to 2% of the urban population in India is informal, involved in informal waste management. So we try and integrate them in the formal waste management systems, because when the waste management system gets formalized and it's very efficient, then there is not much waste available for the informal sector to collect and sell. Also, a lot of formalization is happening in the country in terms of recycling, in terms of waste management. So they should not get left out and shouldn't be marginalized. We do a lot of capacity building activities at the ULB level, because ULB have a very frequent staff changes and other issues that needs capacity building support. At the state and national level, we basically work on developing standards, guidelines, so that other cities and project developers can use those guidelines and standards to implement the projects. Even for urban local body officials, if they have to set up a project, what should they refer to? So there should be some national level guideline or standard to refer. Then the third component, which I believe would be most relevant for the participants here, is called the risk sharing facility. It is the debt guarantee program that in the previous session our colleague from CBG mentioned about, and it's an active operational risk sharing facility that all of you who are interested can avail. I'll talk about in detail about the RSF in next slide. I'll just talk about these technologies that we are supporting. So we are supporting this biomethanation technology, which we are here for, actually the CBG technology. This project is in Bangalore by Carbon Masters, so we are very happy to partner with them. They are already going to be a beneficiary from the risk sharing facility. They have applied. And then we have composting facilities. They are quite common, but there is a lot of challenge in economic viability of composting. And there are certain subsidies, but still efficient composting process, improvements in the process can be beneficial, and we are supporting that. Refuse-derived fuel is anything that is not economically viable to recycle currently, or it is too contaminated. So it's out of a foundation that we have to manage it, that we are supporting it as a alternative fuel in the cement factories. And material recovery facility is where you segregate PET, HDP, LDP, different fractions of waste, and send it to different recyclers so that it can become new product. These are the capacity building and awareness activities that we do. So we do source segregation promotion with partner NGOs. We promote home composting, because home composting, if you're doing, then by default your waste gets segregated and only dry waste mostly goes out. We promote a lot of community composting, because in many cities the centralized processing plants don't have the capacity to manage the entire waste. And a lot of informal sector capacity building. As you can see, this is one of the MRS where we are doing a training program for the informal sector. So coming back to the risk sharing facility, it's a facility that GIZ and NAMA facility has given to CBG to implement. We have an agreement, grant agreement with CBG. So we have provided a corpus of 4.1 million euros, and this can be increased based on the success of the facility. Out of this corpus, there's some amount, some bit of corpus, and there's a 3% management fee above it, which is for SIDBI's operational cost. And we provide two types of guarantees. We provide 50% guarantee to small companies which have a turnover of under 25 crores, and 25% loan guarantee to larger companies with more than 25 crores turnover. And there are no restrictions in terms of loan types. So you can apply for a term loan if you're setting up a new facility. You can apply for a working capital. You can apply for letter of credit, bill discounting facility, all the 4 types of financing. We actually did a pre-launch event of the RSF last year, and it was well attended. We had the SIDBI chairman addressing the gathering, the director from Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, and our funding like organizations, the German Embassy, European Union delegation, and lot of around 35 waste management companies participated in that event and talked about the challenges that they are facing in terms of like mobilizing financing for their companies. And we signed the agreement last year in September. There were some approval processes involved with the RBI, and now we are fully operational. So in the last few months, we have been able to issue in-principle guarantee for these companies. NEPRA is a waste management company based in Ahmedabad, which is into dry waste sorting. So they operate automated MRF in Ahmedabad and in few other cities. So they have applied for a working capital loan of 5 crores, and there is a 25% loan guarantee. Carbon Masters is present here. We heard Som and Kevin. So they have also applied for a working capital and a term loan debt guarantee. GPS Renewables is another EPC player, as well as they are setting up their own biomethanation facility. So they have applied for a 14 crore working capital loan, to which we are providing 25% guarantee. MSGP Infra is a Bangalore-based project developer. They have a 150 tons per day CBG plant coming up in Bangalore. So they have also applied for a term loan guarantee. And Green Tech Enviro is into large composting facilities. So they have applied for a working capital loan for multiple composting facilities that they operate in the country. So far we have committed around half of our corpus, and we have been able to, we estimate that around 7.1 million euros we would be able to enable in terms of unlocking debt financing for these companies. And we really look forward to more developers coming to us and applying for these risk sharing, for this risk sharing facility support. This is the operational flow of the risk sharing facility process. I don't want to get into detail, but just to highlight that there is a expression of interest that the company has to give to us. And along with that, we expect a DPR or some kind of project details. If it's an operational company, then last few years of financials. And then based on that, we are able to, in partnership with SIDBI, we are able to give an in-principle approval. There is an internal committee that approves that. And then you apply for a loan, and we interact with the bank or the NBFC that you are applying to and try and give the final guarantee. I don't want to go into the details, but it's a very well-planned process, and we are almost at the cusp of closing the first guarantee with Carbon Masters and the 5 companies that I mentioned. So we would be able to talk more in detail if you're interested during the lunch or later. Yeah, so this is all the operational flow details, and I would like to close. Thanks a lot for your kind attention.
Thank you very much. You all know that we are really running out of time, and quite eager to hear Dr. Kothari ji. I have one small request from Dr. Vijay from IIT. So he has been a pioneer in this area, so he just wanted to have a few words with us. I would request him to speak for about 2 or 3 minutes so that we can hand over the session to Dr. Kothari ji.
Thank you, Professor Ramakrishna ji, allowing me to share my thoughts for 2-3 minutes. So for last more than 30-35 years, my passion, my work, my commitment is towards biogas technology. और मैं IIT दिल्ली में पढ़ाता हूँ, रिसर्च करता हूँ, और आज की तारीख में पिछले आईआईटी कैंपस में 200 घरों से किचन वेस्ट लेता हूँ, बायोगैस प्लांट में डालता हूँ। जो बायोगैस बनता है उसको प्योरीफाई करके मेरी गाड़ी में भरते हैं। गाड़ी एमएनआरई ने दी थी 2011 में, 1,25,000 किलोमीटर बायोगैस पे चल चुकी है वो। उसके एमिशंस बहुत बेटर हैं, उसकी माइलेज बहुत अच्छी है, वैगन आर है वो सीएनजी वाली। गाड़ी में कोई चेंजेस नहीं किया, 21 किलोमीटर पर किलोग्राम ऑफ बायोगैस की उसकी माइलेज है। डीजल, पेट्रोल, सीएनजी तीनों से बहुत बढ़िया चलती है सिटी ड्राइव में। मुझे खाली 3 चीज़ें शेयर करनी है आपसे कि हम बायोगैस, कंप्रेस्ड बायोगैस की बात कर रहे हैं, तो दिस वर्ड वाज गिवन बाय आईआईटी दिल्ली फर्स्ट टाइम इन द वर्ल्ड 2007-8 में। और 2011 में जो गोल्डन जुबली ईयर कैलेंडर बना आईआईटी दिल्ली का, उसमें एक पेज सीबीजी नाम से दिया उसमें कि पिछले 50 साल में आईआईटी ने जो देश को कंट्रीब्यूट किया उसमें सीबीजी भी एक टेक्नोलॉजी है। 2011 में वो कैलेंडर आया था गोल्डन जुबली ईयर का। दुनिया में कोई यूज़ नहीं करता था। बायोमीथेन यूज़ करते हैं यूरोपियंस, बायोगैस यूज़ करते हैं, बायोगैस अपग्रेडेशन यूज़ करते हैं, पर सीबीजी कोई यूज़ नहीं करता था। थैंक्स टू धर्मेंद्र प्रधान जी, जिन्होंने 2018 में जब सतत चालू किया तो उसमें सीबीजी नाम किया, नॉट बायो सीएनजी। सो आई एम थैंकफुल टू हिम। एक चीज़ जो हम टेक्नोलॉजी की बात कर रहे हैं, और उन्होंने छत्तीसगढ़ वालों ने बहुत सही बताया कि आप कितनी भी पॉलिसी बना लीजिए, कुछ भी कर लीजिए, ज़मीन पे अगर वो सच में इफेक्टिव नहीं है तो वो नहीं चलेगा। हमारे देश में 7 लाख गांव हैं और 800 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स हैं, शहर खाली 100 हैं बड़े वाले। अगर वास्तव में चलाना है आपको तो 3 चीज़ आप ध्यान रखिए। बायोगैस में 2 कंपोनेंट होते हैं, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड और मीथेन। मीथेन को तो आप यूज करने के लिए सीबीजी बना के यूज कर रहे हैं, पर उस बायोगैस उसको अगर एयर में रिलीज करेंगे तो वो भी एक क्रिमिनल ऑफेंस है। सो बोथ द स्ट्रीम शुड बी यूटिलाइज। मेरे एक स्टूडेंट ने पीएचडी किया है कि सीबीजी में मीथेन बन रहा है, उसको स्टोर करके, और कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड निकल रहा है, उसको स्टोर करके आप यूज करें। बहुत सारे ऑप्शंस हैं अवेलेबल, उस पर टेक्नोलॉजी भी अवेलेबल है, आप यूज करिए। दूसरा, उसका जो बायो फर्टिलाइजर है उसका ऑपटेक नहीं होगा, तो ये तीनों कंपोनेंट जब आप यूज करेंगे तो आपका प्रोजेक्ट सक्सेसफुल होगा, सक्सेसफुल चलेगा, एंटरप्रेन्योर्स आएंगे। और शुरुआत में अगले कम से कम 5 साल में आप ये नहीं सोचेंगे कि मुझे बहुत फ़ायदा कमाना है। आप एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हैं, प्रोजेक्ट ले रहे हैं, एलवाई आपके पास है, इस कमिटमेंट के साथ नहीं आएंगे कि हमको इंडिया को कार्बन न्यूट्रल सोसाइटी बनाना है, हमको सेल्फ रिलायंट एनर्जी सेक्टर में ले जाना है देश को। तो आप कोशिश करिए कि जो भी अवेलेबल रिसोर्सेज अवेलेबल हैं, चाहे गोबर है, चाहे एग्रीकल्चर रेजिड्यू है, या फूड वेस्ट है, या हमारा शुगर फैक्ट्री के वेस्ट मड है, या ह्यूमन वेस्ट है, सबको यूज करिए और सबको यूज करके आप उससे बायोगैस बनाइए। हमारा एक कंसेप्ट काम कर रहा है ग्राम ऊर्जा स्वराज, और हम कार्बन न्यूट्रल ग्राम पंचायत पे काम कर रहे हैं मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ पंचायती राज के साथ में। तो आप सक्सेसफुल तब होंगे जब आप तीनों स्ट्रीम को यूज करेंगे, बायोगैस को, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड को, बायो फर्टिलाइजर को। जो टेक्नोलॉजी की कॉस्ट है वो आप कंसल्टेंट्स के पास घूमते रहेंगे, बहुत पैसे मांग रहे हैं, उसकी कॉस्ट कम होनी चाहिए। आईआईटी दिल्ली ने बहुत कम कॉस्ट में टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलप की है, और दूसरी जो भी रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूशन है वो भी आपको सपोर्ट कर सकते हैं। कॉस्ट थोड़ी रीजनेबल होनी चाहिए, सक्सेसफुली काम हो, और प्रॉफिट तभी होगा जब आपका बायो फर्टिलाइजर यूज होने लगेगा। भारत सरकार ने, नीति आयोग ने अभी रिपोर्ट बनाई थी, हमने टास्क फोर्स रेगुलेशन रिलीज किया बायो फर्टिलाइजर के लिए, और जितनी फर्टिलाइजर कंपनी है, चाहे वो इफ्को है, क्रिप्को है, नाफेड है, दूसरे हैं, वो कम से कम 5 से 10% कंपोस्ट या बायो फर्टिलाइजर जरूर बेचेंगे, साथ में केमिकल फर्टिलाइजर की। 2 लाख करोड़ की सब्सिडी ले रहे हैं वो लोग। तो जब 2 लाख करोड़ की सब्सिडी ले रहे हो तो कम से कम 10% तो बेचिए, ताकि सर्कुलर इकोनॉमी वास्तव में बने, गाँव के लोगों को फायदा हो। तो आप जो भी प्रोजेक्ट करें ये सोच के करिए कि मैं देश के लिए कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा हूँ, मैं कार्बन न्यूट्रल सोसाइटी के लिए, क्योंकि जो क्लाइमेट चेंज हो रहा है उसको अगर प्रोटेक्ट करना है, अपने आप को बचाना है, दुनिया को बचाना है, तो आप उस डायरेक्शन में करिए। और अगर सक्सेसफुली सिस्टम चल पड़ा है तो 5-10 साल बाद आप बहुत अच्छे से प्रॉफिट कमाएंगे। तो इसका ध्यान रखिए, और CO2 को हवा में मत छोड़िए, उसको भी यूज करिए, मीथेन को भी यूज करिए, बायो फर्टिलाइजर यूज करिए। बस यही कहना था मुझे।
Thank you, sir. Thank you for those words. So, I don't want to come in the way between you and Dr. Kothari ji. Kothari ji, for your further guidance on this.
Thank you, Ramakrishna ji. We had a very enlightening discussion, and I'll thank my fellow panelists for educating us. We saw the policies of UP. We had a detailed presentation of that. We also had a look at the Assam and what is the Chhattisgarh government doing. And finally, also from the world perspective, what is the EU, what are the various regulations that EU is taking to promote the biogas. So one common thing from all this is that all we can see is that a CBG plant is a project in itself, and it cannot, like all other things, it cannot be there in isolation. Before setting up a CBG plant, one has to do a due diligence as to what is the feedstock available, what is the optimum position, what is the optimum place where that plant should be there. What will be the offtake of the various products taking out from that CBG plant, whether it be the biogas or it be the fermented organic manure. And finally, when we have tied up all these things, then we have to worry about what is from where will we raise the resources to set up the plant. All our policies which have been just discussed, they basically focus on these all areas. In this budget, Union government has also come out with certain directions in which we will be going. One of the major things is that there will be a mandate of blending of CBG in the marketing, the companies who market the gas, natural gas. So I guess that will provide stable offtake guarantees to the CBG plants, whoever want to set up. Also, there is MNRE has also come back with a subsidy with a central financial assistance for those who are setting up commercial scale biogas plants. There have been directions in which we will be supporting the FOM offtake also. The budget has also given a direction that the government in the coming times will also support with the biomass supply chain. So these are various directions in which the various state policies are pointing. The challenges in front of our biogas industry are lot many. The biomass supply chain, I think, is the biggest challenge, because unless until we are sure of the feedstock, then these are continuous cycle plants. One cannot just start the plant and then stop it and again start it. Once the process starts, it has to run continuously. So knowing a proper place, creating a sustainable biomass supply chain, I think it is the most important thing. Some of our companies have succeeded in developing these chains. Many others are struggling in that. I think that is it's both a policy, it needs further some policy initiatives, as well as initiatives with the local communities, where just like Chhattisgarh is doing, maybe that way where we can involve the local communities in gathering and storage of the biomass, and then further taking it to our plant for processing. There might be some hybrid way of doing that. Let's see how our industry evolves. And finally, I'll just say that we have got a very ambitious targets of setting up of the biogas plants. We have a target of at least 5,000 plants of a commercial scale. We have got a lot of LOIs also, but because of these problems, because of these issues, we have not been able to convert many of those LOIs, most of those LOIs into ground. But seeing the very good response to this conference, I am very hopeful that we will be very shortly, we will be able to convert most of those LOIs into sustainable working biogas plants. Thank you.
So thank you very much. I think should give one round of applause for all the speakers. From my end, I don't think we have any formal concluding session. This is the last session of the day, and I think it's an opportunity for me to thank each one of you for having spared your time and having participated for the last 2 days, and as I mentioned, earlier, the response has been overwhelming. I also take this opportunity to thank all the sponsors of this conference, as well as all the speakers and the panelists in the various sessions. So I would hand over the mic to Mr. Sanjay ji so that he can give the final word.
Thank you. Yes, Ramakrishna ji said we don't have a formal concluding ceremony to this conference, but couple of takeaways which our office bearers of the CBG forum may like to present. Just few minutes more. So I will request Ashish ji, who is the vice chairperson of this forum, to please come and say a few words, and after that I will also request Subodh ji to please say a few words before we conclude, and then there are a couple of announcements we will make, and then we will proceed for lunch. Ashish ji.
Thank you, Sanjay. I think the last 1.5 days must have been quite a learning experience for all present over here. I think we can quite safely say that one of the key objectives of setting up this forum was to really look at the interests of the industrial investors. That is one of the prime focus areas, because if that is taken into consideration, the sector will definitely develop. And let's say there are two objectives from such kind of conferences, platforms. One is networking and the second is learning. And in most of the cases, we end up mostly networking, and the learning is not really so much. But I hope this has been a different experience for you. It was quite an action-packed day yesterday. We had a good long day, and for today's 2 sessions as well. So I personally think it's been a good experience for us as the organizers from the CBG Producers Forum. It was our first event, and I think for a first event, I think we can have a nice pat on our back. So thanks a lot for your support. What I would really push for here is we need to have more such deliberations, serious deliberations with the investors. And for that, we need strong participation from your side formally as part of this forum, which means you should come up and become members of this forum. And that is important. And that is, I think, is going to be further facilitated from the office bearers as well. So I would really encourage you to come out, participate, and be an active member of this forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ashish ji. I request Subodh ji, advisor for CBG Producers Forum, to please come and say a few words.
Good afternoon, everybody. I will not take much time, but the only thing is that this is a beginning. The beginning for a long-term journey. And we'll be making certain task forces. So shortly we'll be communicating with you, and we'll be inviting participation in those, active participation in those task forces, various areas which we discussed for 2 days. And hopefully we'll be finding solutions and win-win situation for all the stakeholders. Thank you very much.
Yeah, before we do the formal, ceremony to present mementos to the eminent panelists, couple of announcements. One, that IFGE will be working aggressively to promote this sector, and there will be a number of programs which we are planning to have in future. Yesterday we discussed with Mr. Avasthi also from UP that maybe we can have a regional conference there in Lucknow. Similarly, we can have regional conferences in other states also, because a lot of awareness needs to be created. There are many questions which the sector has, So those can be answered only through these forums. There are policy level issues, there are technology level questions which people want to understand. There are, marketing point of, issues which companies want to know. So on all such, sectors we'll be focusing our activity in future. That IFGE will, is committed to create a strong secretariat to take this platform forward. We have worked very hard, so that is the reason we are here today, and this success of this conference is only because of that hard work which we have put in since last 4 months. The forum was launched just on 14 December, and within a short span of time we were able to create a quality program. One more announcement: after lunch we are having one more. IFGE has several forums and committees which look after different sectors. For solar, for EV, for bamboo, we have different committees. We are launching one more forum today on biomass. So that will be at 3:30. Those who are interested to join in that forum also, you are requested to please stay back after lunch. So we'll have dignitaries from that sector to address the gathering. So it will be just short 1.5 hour session. So you are most welcome to attend that. And before we conclude, I request my colleagues to please come and present the mementos. Ramakrishna ji will present the mementos to the eminent panelists. Mr. Dr. Navneet Kothari ji, Joint Secretary, MOPNG. Dr. G.N. Singh, Shri Sazzad Alam, Mr. Sumit Sarkar, Mr. Kumar Gaurav, and there are a couple of sponsors who were not there when we had distributed mementos to them. So Canara Bank, if somebody is here, I would like to invite them to receive the memento from Dr. Kothari. और कौन सा है? Thank you for your support, and in future also we'll look forward to your similar kind of support. Next. Anybody from Crohn? Okay. SBI? No. SBI Capital? Anybody from SBI Capital? No. SIDBI? Anybody from SIDBI? No. Yeah, and one more token of appreciation to Government of Assam for accepting our request to become the partner state of this conference. So thank you, Mr. Alam. So thank you all once again, and let's move for lunch. We have arrangement of lunch in both the places, outside in the courtyard and inside there in the camera.